Is that okay?
I muted again, so yeah, that's great.
Okay, perfect.
Awesome. Okay, can you all hear me?
Yes,
Okay, so hello everyone, I'm Guadalupe and I'm looking forward to telling you about the two projects that I've been a part of, thanks to the connections provided to me through the Leadership Academy at my school. And I apologize for not being there physically, but I hope my presentation provides you all with some useful information regarding voter engagement. So I would like to start off with talking about the voter workshops that we held and that I was able to participate under the supervision of Yadira, who is here with me today. So we held some voter registration workshops and ballot support workshops. And these are the different dates on which we had them. To start off, we had 9 registrations on April 13th, 4 registrations on April 18th, and another 4 on May 23rd, which leaves us with a total of 23 registrations, including some separate ones where that didn't fall on those dates or just in between. And then for our ballot support workshops, we had 12 ballots on May 25th, 4 ballots on June 1st, and again, another 4 on June 6th, leaving us with a total of 20 ballots. And this work was possible thanks to the other community leaders, also known as promotoras. Together, we made over 200 phone calls, making just personal, almost like personal invitations to the people who were interested and who have worked with us in the past. And we also made sure to send text message reminders prior to the day of the workshop just to confirm location, times, and availability. Okay, so for both projects, I've compiled a list of, I call it pluses and deltas, also known as like the highlights and the things that we might need to change moving forward or just overall lessons learned. And I'm going to start off with the positives. So for the voter workshops and registration workshops, it was really important that we had that in-person connection. And I think this presentation might prove that when it's in-person meetings, everything goes not only a lot more smoothly, but that connection really is just organic and it makes things flow a lot well. And it enables trust naturally, because I know for some people who we called, they didn't really recognize who we were. And naturally, you know, they wanted to make sure that it wasn't a scam call or that they weren't giving away sensitive information when talking about voting or registering to vote. So yeah, that in-person connection was really the core of these workshops. And then that the trust also was connected to not having any language barriers, because for the Spanish speaking people who would come in, we were able to communicate fluently and without issues. So I feel that made them feel more comfortable when it came to asking questions, and they didn't really hold back in that sense. So that really helped a lot. And along with that, the cultural connections, of course, that was a big part of it too, especially because a lot of the people attending the workshop were Spanish speaking, were Latinos, Hispanic. And so the cultural connections, like we connected on several levels, and it made it really easy for us to get to know the people we were working with and for them to get to know us. And then for the team's highlights, the team efforts were really a big part of this too, because we attended some of the mandatory forums to learn more about each candidate and make sure that you know, we were all learning together in this process. And we also had mandatory ballot research, not only to help explain what was on the ballots for the other people, but also for ourselves, and to learn more about what we were actually reading about and who we were talking about. So that was really, really helpful for everyone involved. And for the deltas and the things that might need change moving forward, we definitely agreed that planning with more time, especially for this specific election with so many candidates, there was just not enough time to learn about every single one and really go in depth. So that made things a little tricky because we had to kind of learn along the way. Another thing that came up was address schedule conflicts, especially because we held the workshops from in the evenings, and that seemed to work for a lot of people, but at the same time, like, different people have different schedules, so really it was hard to work around that sometimes. And then a really big one, COVID, with we made sure to wear masks because the workshops were indoors, and sometimes, you know, some people wouldn't be able to show up, or on one occasion one of our team members got sick, so those were like small little setbacks that we were able to work around. And then lastly was we had a small team, so we that's kind of why we only stuck with helping the amount of people that I showed in the previous slide. Compared to the voting workshops that we had in 2020, we had more people, so we were able to help more people. But either way, it ended up working out, and it ended up being a good learning opportunity for all of the people involved. So moving on, I would like to transition into the Voters Choice Napa Youth Ambassador position and the work that was done there. And here I've attached a picture of the social media takeover schedule that we worked on as a team with the other youth ambassadors that I worked with. So it's organized by date, and it has our names and the content that we were posting about. So for example, my first day to take over the social media was on May 26th, and the content that I was going to post about, or scheduled to post about, was why to pre-register and vote. So this schedule we found was really helpful because it not only kept us organized, but it gave us a sense of, you know, how to prepare beforehand, before posting the information, and making sure that the information was accurate and it was reliable and it was good to share out and post it on social media. So that was a good way of making that possible. And below the dates and the names right here, we have a list of some of the people who were going to reach out to other social media platforms to share the information and try to get it to more people than we already had. So that's a little bit about how that process was organized. And then I've also made a little list of positives and changes for the future for the VCN Youth Ambassador position. So to start off, it was a good outreach attempt. We were able to put out information and share it with other people, which, you know, always helps no matter how many people we reach. So that was a big positive, and making sure that it was useful and reliable, so that people weren't getting misinformation. That was a huge part of what we were doing, and what was one of the most important parts too. And then youth on youth connection, because our team was made up of teenagers, people my age, and we were reaching out to people my age. It made it really easy because we were able to understand how the audience we were trying to reach thinks, and their interest, and how to get to them. So that was really, really helpful. in that sense. And overall, just using a platform like Instagram made it really fast and easy because a lot of us are really familiar with the platform, and it enabled us to just get to it. And once we had the information down, we were able to post it and get it to as many people as possible. So, and then for the lessons that we learned during this process, a really big one prior to posting, and like the first time that I posted on the social media takeover, I had conducted a little survey through my government class at my school for a project that I had, and I decided to do it around voting and just get some anonymous responses about a couple of students at my school regarding their thoughts on the whole voting process and primaries, and how statistics like how old they were, or if they had thought of pre-registering to vote if they hadn't already. And so I didn't get a lot of responses. I only got 12, but I posted that survey on my personal social media account. And from those responses, I saw that people wanted more resources, access to more voting resources. And one person even said that they were interested in learning more, but that they felt that wasn't something that was being provided so much at school. So I found that really interesting because after the first post that we had on the Voters Choice Napa account, again, I reposted that social media post on my personal account. And I found that the interactions didn't align with the responses that I received on the survey, because from what I noticed, a lot of the people who I shared the post with didn't interact or engage with it very much, if at all. So I found that interesting, and I made me wonder like what happened in between to have that change, or what I could do differently so that next time it captures people's attention more. Another kind of a small setback that we had was that the account that we posted on had a low following. So naturally we had a lower engagement because it didn't reach as much people as it would have if we had a little bit of a higher following. But so yeah, another, it's not really an issue, but another characteristic I would say that really is important as well that we hadn't really considered as much was the posting times, especially because with social media, there are usually certain algorithms that help certain posts get more engagement. So we had a bit of some inconsistent posting times, and I just wonder if we would have stuck to a consistent schedule. Sorry, if we would have stuck to a consistent schedule, I wonder if that would have increased our engagement from the people following the account and from the people who were able to see the posts in general. So that was another thing. Locating a specific audience. For example, the Voters Choice Napa account is a public account, which is good because anyone who can go on the account can see what we post and the information that is being put out there. But with that being said, if this goes along with the following, if people who are interested in what the account has to say or has to post, then it's important that they're following the account, because then we can locate the specific audience and we know what those people want to hear and want to know more about, which may help get the information to a wider audience. And then in general, just getting familiar with social media is really, really important, because little things like the posting times or the following, they may seem small, but they make a lot of the difference and the impact of these posts. So just taking a moment to get familiar with the platform and adjust to its algorithms or to its patterns it can be challenging, but it really makes all the difference. So that's a really important part as well. And then lastly, just starting the conversations early. For example, we talked about how if for the November elections, we might want to start talking about them starting in September, just so that the ball can start rolling and people know, okay, like this is coming up, and there's more time for everyone involved to just kind of start thinking about it, start having conversations, start having time to learn individually. And so that will help everyone involved. So next up, I would like to share 2 of the social media posts that we created. On the left, I have 4 little squares. This is one individual post, and it was done by me. So this one focused on voting resources, and it is both in English and Spanish. On the first slide, I provided the link to online registration. And then on the bottom 2, I have the 10-day voting center addresses and the 3-day voting center addresses. And this was all through the information that Dorothy and Alicia provided for us. So that made it really helpful because all I had to do was just find the template that I wanted to use to upload. And once that was done, I just had to copy down the information that I had already. And that made it super simple and very easy. And this post specifically is more of like, it's 4 posts in one, kind of. That may seem confusing, but it's one individual post and people can kind of slide through these 4 slides and take whatever information they may need. So that was one way that we did it. And on the right, I have another example, and this was done by Jonathan. So he did more of an infographic approach, and he talked about how to vote and wrote 3 steps for that process. He wrote register to vote, complete your ballot, seal, sign, and mail the ballot. And so this is also a very efficient way to get information out just because there's less text. It's very bright. It captures people's attention typically. So that's a very good way to just kind of get someone to look and be like, okay, like this is interesting. I wonder what it's about. And maybe even read more look more into any other links that may be attached. So these are 2 different approaches, but we had more posts and more ways. For example, someone else did just like voting facts, and that's also a really good way and quick way for people to read into, like really fast, but also at the same time they're taking something away. So those are some examples of the posts that we created. And in closing, I want to talk about the overall highlights and lessons learned, and just takeaways from both projects. And I'm going to start off with the highlights. It was definitely a learning process, and it was a good one because we were learning along the way, we were learning beforehand, and we're still learning now about what we can do in the future and what we did differently as opposed to what we've done in the past. So that's always very good because with anything, learning is always involved. Another really good highlight was that these are all opportunities to be involved. And for me, like, that's always something that I'm looking out for, especially in high school. And this is work that I really enjoy doing, and I really enjoy working with the people that I've gotten to work with. So that was a really big highlight for me personally. And then along with that, I've been lucky enough to have really good teamwork and communication with the people that I've worked with. So that facilitated working around those small obstacles or little setbacks and just moving forward until the end. And then lastly, which I think may be the most important one, was that this was educational an educational process for all of us, for everyone involved, the people attending the workshops, the people viewing our posts, for us who created them, the people who held the workshops, anyone who volunteered. We were all able, I think, to take something away from it. And it was just a very beneficial experience. So, but along with that, we had the lessons that we learned moving forward. And like I stated for the previous ones, in summary, the three main ones that I decided to focus on were the crucial role timing has during planning. And it can be from the smallest things, like knowing when to post, to upload a social media post, to knowing when to start talking about these topics. Really makes a difference and helps the process run a lot smoothly. And then along with that, the importance of virtual engagement, specifically for the youth ambassador position, because that was the most important part of the engagement that we received was the virtual engagement. So the more people that we reach, the more engagement we'll have, and the more beneficial it will be for the people seeking this information. And then last but not least would be the value of transparency and active learning. There will always be experiences to learn from and opportunities to improve. So that is something that should be encouraged, and I know will be encouraged. And just the value of transparency, this isn't easy, but it's important to be able to communicate clearly and really know how to work around these small setbacks together. So that's a little bit of the work that I've completed in the past couple of weeks with my team. And now I'm open to taking any questions or comments from you all.
Yeah, so I've unmuted us. So you get this. And you can share your,
Yeah.
not all blurry. There we go.
Someone had a question?
Oh, you had a question.
Yeah, I was, you mentioned the numbers of people you had involved in your team. And I was wondering about the ability, how many of the kids on your team were able to get as involved as you got?
Did you hear that okay?
Yes.
Yeah, so I think the question was how many people were on the team and then how many youth were able to get as involved?
So for the VCN Youth Ambassador schedule, we had I believe 2 people who did help and with the planning, but they weren't able to participate as consistently as like 3 of us, or yeah, there were like 5 people who were in charge of like the consistent posting, like for example myself, Anna, Jonathan, Aaron, and Abby, and then 2 people who would occasionally jump in but wouldn't participate as consistently with the posting due to other things going on.
Yeah, so for the youth ambassadors, there was 5 youth total. Voters Choice Napa was coordinator. So Alicia as co-chair was coordinating with Dorothy from the Community Leaders Coalition. We're coordinating the 5 youth, getting them together via Zoom. And then that was one of the projects, right? And then the other part was with On the Move with my group. So it was 5 of us total, right? 5 of us. Let me see. Yeah. And so I'm the coordinator of my program. So I would get everybody together to do our check-in meetings and get organized. And In our team, we had, so Guadalupe's high school youth, Ana and Nayelia's college student, young people. And then we also had a community leader who's a mom, and then there was a few other folks who helped us in different ways through VCN, just to get the word out. But that's kind of our group there.
A small core can accomplish.
Did you hear that? We said that it was encouraging because a small and really accomplished a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Question, is there something that's going to be ongoing during the summer or pick back up, like you said, in September for the general election?
Yeah, so since I'm the coordinator for Citizenship Legal Services and civic engagement from the move, we plan to have these efforts ongoing. We still feel super new, and our first one was technically the 2020 election, but we had more support from other volunteers. It also, it's like everybody knows, it's a lot more, it just generated more buzz because it was the presidential election. And we also collaborated with Voices. But yes, we hope to be ongoing. We hope that we continue to get funding from the Latino Community Foundation. So that's a key point here, that we did have a combination of volunteers and also stipend, right? So we have our youth that dedicate a lot of time and effort to volunteer to get the word out. So we want to compensate them for that, right? So we hope to get some more funding to make this more sustainable. And that's one of the lessons we also learned, that we want to definitely start early, right? So we know technically in November, I forget the date, it's the last day we could vote, right? Whoever's eligible. So we want to start early on since September just to get it going, and also for us to learn about what's going to be on the ballot. And I think that now that we've seen it for the primary elections, we have a better understanding of, of the ballot. So that gives us a lot of more confidence in the work that we're doing, and we're able to speak better on the different things that are going on. So yeah.
Jan?
Yeah, are you just in Napa, or have you reached out
Yeah, so for
to Valley High Schools?
for us here so Voters Choice Napa is a county initiative. And for example, in Guadalupe's work with the youth ambassadors, I know 3 youth were here in the city of Napa and 2 were for Up Valley. I don't think they had any representation from American Canyon. So that was the goal, to get more representation. And then for us, for On the Move, we do just focus on the city of Napa because that's where most of us are. But since Voters Choice Napa is a Napa County initiative, I know they partner with Up Valley Family Centers. So that was another key part that I did want to recognize the League of Women Voters, because like Guadalupe said in her presentation, as a team, we decided that we would, all of us had to watch the forums that you all hosted. So some of our team members were able to be there live as it was going on. And then some of us watched the recording so we could all just learn about all the candidates. And also Voters Choice Napa, this was another key thing that happened, is that they hosted a power mapping workshop, one at Napa Valley College and one at Up Valley, for District 1 in Napa, District 3 in Up Valley. That was also really important because we had representation from Community Health Initiative, from COPE, from On the Move, Innovations Community Center. So many people were being, trained on the same subject and we were working as a team. So I think that's key, that we have trusted messengers in different organizations throughout Napa County, so that way we can reach more people.
Any other questions?
And I think just the last point that one more question.
Well, very much. I appreciate the time and work you're doing. And we will have an Amazon gift card for Guadalupe and get it to her somehow. And both of you have, now you are members of our league. Of how long you want to be, and you're certainly the exciting branch. So thank you, and I hope you have a wonderful party, Guadalupe.